Hello all and welcome to my page. I'm Marcus Cash. Down below you will see my media handles for basically everything. YouTube, Instagram, you name it. I appreciate you stopping by the channel. Before I get into my rant of this episode, be sure to click the bell, like, share, subscribe, comment away, and share with any and all. I do appreciate your time and thank you in advance. Alright, y'all, welcome back to the 6th edition of Bruce Prichard's version of WWE Monday Night Raw. And my review of it. Now, this is for July 20th, 2020. And the show starts off with Seth Rollins.
All that I am trying to do is lead Monday Night Raw to a brighter future.
He comes out to the ring. He does an opening promo about his match last night against Rey Mysterio, which was an eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye!
But almost immediately after he started talking, Aleister Black comes out. And for whatever reason, Aleister Black is still defending the honor of Rey Mysterio. Like, I get it. He looked up to Rey. But really the only thing that tied them together in the first place is that they both got thrown off a roof at Money in the Bank, and ever since then they've been inseparable, and it doesn't make sense to me, at least. But whatever, that's the best that creative can come up for a character as amazing as Aleister Black, I guess. Nonetheless, though, he wants to pick a fight with Seth Rollins. They're gonna have a match, spectacular match, actually, if I must say so. There's interference from Murphy, but that's tied in beautifully. There's black mass kicks that was given to Buddy Murphy and kind of like knocked him and us into a commercial, which is pretty splendid. But flash forward, Seth Rollins with the stomp, he gets the win. But interestingly enough, after the match, they seem to be doing an injury angle. Luckily, they're not going after Aleister Black's eye, but it looks like they were trying to injure his shoulder, or may have even succeeded in doing so. I don't know if Aleister Black's actually hurt, or if he's requested time off to go wherever. I'm not sure if he still resides in the Netherlands, or whatever the case may be. Hopefully they're not writing him off of TV altogether, but it seems like a sacrifice has been made, with that sacrifice being Aleister Black, but hopefully not the case, right? Next up, though, we have the Hurt Business. That's MVP, your unofficial United States champion, and Bobby Lashley. Now, they're backstage and they're talking about how they're going to go to ringside for essentially a championship ceremony, is essentially what it is. They're going to celebrate his no contest win, his forfeiture from Apollo Crews in the United States title match last night. Now, they happen to see R-Truth, and they're telling R-Truth that they would really like for the 24/7 champ to join them. Now, R-Truth, having run-ins with Bobby Lashley before, he's not so inclined to join them.
Look, no means no. No, that means no, all right?
But it turns out that MVP had meant for the new 24/7 champion to join them. And immediately when he says that, Shelton Benjamin super kicks R-Truth. He gets the pin, he gets the win, he gets the awful title.
Oh, that was different.
And Shelton Benjamin has now joined the Hurt Business with MVP and Bobby Lashley. And I'm very excited because it gives Shelton Benjamin something to do. It gets a title off of R-Truth. It makes this stable with a pretty awesome name, in my opinion. It gets them a third member, and now they're actually a stable rather than a tag team, essentially. And yeah, it's just wins all around. You know, this Hurt Business group is slowly, taking shape and getting the ball rolling, but everything's coming together, and I'm pretty excited about it. Now, when they're out in the ring, they start going on and on about, heel stuff, right? He's the champion. They've got Shelton Benjamin. They're going to pop bottles to celebrate. All these kinds of things. Apparently, there's a 6-man tag that's supposed to take place tonight, which would have been against Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and Apollo Crews, but Apollo Crews is still nowhere to be found. Side note for anyone that doesn't know, apparently he's at the very least come in contact with someone with COVID. Whether or not he has it himself hasn't been elaborated, but apparently that's the reason why he can't be around at the very least. Now, obviously Apollo's not there, so MVP offers for them to pick their poison of any 2 of the 3 from the Hurt Business, but that's not necessary actually, because they do have a tag team partner, and it's going to be the return of Mustafa Ali.
Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Now, couple things that jumps out. Number 1, the rumors are correct, and Mustafa Ali has now moved from SmackDown to Raw.
Why did you do that?
Number 2, Mustafa Ali is once again Mustafa Ali rather than Ali, so he's gotten his first name back, luckily.
Thank you, Jesus!
Because just Ali sounded rather stupid.
Stupid, 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 stupid.
But also, I don't understand why they have this obsession with removing half of people's names. So to see someone actually get their name back is pretty cool.
I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
Nonetheless, though, glad to see Mustafa Ali. He is a very talented in-ring performer. I don't like his fit on Monday Night Raw necessarily, but even more so, I kind of take issue with his placement here. Obviously, I'm sad to see that he's not going to be the hacker over on SmackDown. Not like they've done anything with that gimmick in a few weeks anyway, but they brought him in, and it feels like they forced him into this spot here with Cedric and Ricochet. I can imagine the meeting in creative where it was, okay, we don't have Apollo, we want to do a 6-man tag, we need somebody who's flippy and can't really talk either, and I need to get Mustafa Ali on television somehow. Let's just kill all the birds with one stone. And so they force feed Mustafa Ali alongside Ricochet and Cedric, and it just feels weird. I've seen online people call them the Power Rangers, and that's probably accurate. Cartoony, flippy, talented. I'll admit talented, very talented, but very flippy, and none of them can talk worth a damn. So, I don't know, just kind of an odd fit, particularly when he's introduced and Cedric's like, it's someone that's also tired of MVP's rhetoric. Mustafa Ali doesn't have any reason to be sick of MVP's rhetoric because Mustafa Ali and MVP have had no interactions whatsoever in the past. So there is no issue there. You're kind of forcefully creating an issue. I don't know. I like things to happen organically on television rather than given this whole backstory that they didn't even bother to present to us in the first place. Now, they've had that match, the 6-man tag there. Nothing super exciting. Normal 6-man tag. People got their spots in. Decent enough action. But they did make a point to have Mustafa Ali pick up the victory with his splash. So the focus is on Mustafa and his return, which at least that part makes sense because he just came back. And you want to give us a reason to care for him. Or a reason to care for him again, rather. But my other issue with this is you want to get something done with Cedric and Ricochet, which you're kind of doing half-assedly, and now you're going to further overshadow him with somebody else's return, and it just feels like such an odd and bad pairing. Hopefully it's a one-week wonder. Unfortunately, I know better. So let's see how they screw this up for all parties involved next week. Now, next up, though, we have Randy Orton, who is, at least in WWE's world, the best person in the business at the moment. He's been on fire. He's in character. He's really eating it up. And he's been a blast to watch because he's the most into his character out of anybody on either one of the 3 shows that WWE is doing. He's doing another fantastic promo. He's highlighting having to take out his friends, Edge and Christian, and having to do the same tonight with the Big Show. Just to pretty much sum all of that up. But Big Show's next on his hit list. Their personal history be damned. Fingers crossed. Now, next up, though, just to beat a dead horse, we have Christian, who's going to do a Skype or Zoom or some sort of video conference interview with Samoa Joe. And I appreciate the Samoa Joe part rather than fake Michael Cole or even Byron. Samoa Joe is someone who can ask questions and sounds believable and can tell a story. But honestly, when Christian got kicked in the head, I was kind of hoping that was it. They get kicked in the head, that he got kicked in the head, and I don't have to deal with this anymore. Never really liked Christian on his own, personally speaking. He was cool on Edge and Christian, but never really cared after that. And I'm also anti bringing the old guys back over and over and over again. I kind of like nostalgia. I don't love nostalgia. I don't lose my mind for nostalgia. Particularly someone who's not going to be around on a consistent basis anyway. Edge came back because he wants to compete for the next 3 years despite his injury. That's a lot different than bringing in Christian for 4 weeks. So he got kicked in the head. I was hoping he was gone. I wasn't, so I'm disappointed. But they're having the interview, and it does put over Randy Orton because he states the fact that he doesn't feel good. He got that kick in the head, and he feels terrible, and he's hoping that's not the case for Big Show, and he's hoping Big Show knocks Randy Orton out. And all of this pain would be worth it if they can stop Randy Orton's malice that he's been on lately. Hopefully not the case. Hopefully Big Show suffers the same fate. But we'll have to wait for the main event to find that out. Now they shift backstage, and we're having a backstage interview with, I want to say, Sarah Schreiber? Not Charlie Caruso, basically. And she's interviewing Bianca Belair.
I'm the strongest, the toughest, the roughest, the quickest, the smartest, and you can't whoop me.
Bianca Belair is the EST of WWE. And right when she's beginning to talk, she's quickly interrupted by Peyton Royce. Now, for whatever reason, Billie Kay is not here tonight.
It's so sad. It's very sad.
I'm hoping so dearly that there's nothing wrong with Billie, whether it be an injury or anything pandemic related, because she is must-see TV with Peyton. And while I'll accept one of the two, I really don't want to not have them both. They are an iconic duo and one of the best things on WWE television. Definitely top 10. So hopefully she's okay. And we have Peyton Royce. She's cutting down Bianca Belair, saying how she's the nosy-est and the dumb-est, and playing on the EST name, which was pretty clever. I enjoyed that. But Ruby Riot's nearby, and she has green braids now, so I guess after 1 week of hanging out with Bianca Belair, she feels inspired to go get braids. I guess.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Anyway, turns out we have a match night, and it's Ruby Riott against Peyton Royce. Now I know what you're thinking. We saw this a couple weeks ago. Yeah, we did. And Peyton Royce beat Ruby Riott, and Ruby Riott's lost like 20 something straight matches on television. So wouldn't really make sense to have the match on television, right? You would imagine Peyton Royce versus Bianca. That'd be my guess. That match is up next, and it's solid in-ring action. It's highlighted by Peyton making constant references to Liv Morgan.
It's time to move on, so let's move on.
To Ruby during the match. Like I said, they both look pretty good for a singles match. So I think this match elevated them both for, you know, the time that they actually did get. But it ended with Ruby Riott hitting her Riot kick and actually getting the pinfall win on Peyton Royce. So her 20 some odd long losing streak on television is over, and she got a win, and she looked genuinely shocked and elated in the ring that she finally picked up a win. Good for Ruby. She didn't deserve a 20 match losing streak in the first place. She is a very good character and a very solid athlete. Just hate to see the Iconics lose in any way, shape, or form for any reason whatsoever. So, bit torn there, but good for Ruby. Now, next up, we have one of my favorite segments on WWE Raw every week. We have Charlie Caruso, and she's backstage, and she's gonna interview Angel Garza.
And joining me now, we have
Angel Garza!
Now, Angel and Andrade, who I dubbed the Vega Boys due to their association with Selena Vega, they're next to each other. They seem to be on the same page. Charlie Caruso wants to ask Angel Garza specifically if they're on the same page, or how do they plan to be on the same page, considering that their tag team title match is coming up next. Now, Angel Garza informs her that they are on the same page. They're going to win the tag team titles, right? But he doesn't really get to go into too long of a spiel because Montez Ford and Angela Dawkins are here, and they jump the Vega Boys, and they pretty much leave them laying up against a metal fence that just happens to be there backstage. So, very excited that the Street Profits are back, because it's super odd you don't have your champions on television for a few weeks. The Street Profits are back, Montez Ford specifically. We're having a tag team title match, and as much as I love the Street Profits, I'm hoping that the Vega Boys can pull off the win and get these tag team titles, because Andrade and Angel Garza are gold. Now, for the match itself, fairly nondescript match. It's a bit on the quicker side, I felt like, for a title match anyway. It's highlighted by Montez Ford hitting that amazing, breathtaking frog splash he calls from the heavens. But he did it a bit Rob Van Dam style. He actually springboarded into the air and turned midway through the air and landed facing a different direction.
From the heavens! Wow, he transitioned in midair!
Now, as beautiful as this frog splash is, I didn't know that he can also change his direction mid-flight, and now that he can, I think it's safe to say, or at least safe to double down on what I said a few weeks ago, Montez Ford, I think, has the best frog splash we've ever seen in the business. Anyway, though, he gets the win. Now, there was some dissension between Andrade and Angel Garza during the match. I would say that there's been more dissension in other weeks. This week it just didn't come off as bad to me this week as the other weeks had been. Nonetheless, though, it did cost them their tag team titles, or at least the opportunity to become tag team champions, I should say. But they did seem to be more on the same page, I thought. And they doubled down on that backstage when Zelina Vega is about to rip into them, the Vega Boys, and they assure her that they are still on the same page. They'll make up for it, and just wait and see, and they'll prove it. So I was expecting them to request another tag team title match, or maybe jump the Street Profits backstage, but they had something in store for us a little later on tonight. Now, next up, we have the women's tag team champions. We have Sasha Banks and Bayley Bayley also being the SmackDown Women's Champion for their singles division. They're out, and pretty much they're there to gloat about them having all of the gold. Allegedly for Sasha Banks beating Asuka last night, 24 hours ago. At Extreme Rules, the horrible show. They're bragging a little bit, but not too long. Nothing that takes up too much time. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, come out fairly quickly. Broken English is per the gimmick, but essentially Asuka states that no one was ready for Asuka, but Asuka was not ready for a thief because Sasha Banks and Bayley stole her title, and I thought that was a hilariously clever line. But Asuka and Kairi Sane are ready to walk down a ramp and start a fight with Bayley and Sasha, but Stephanie McMahon shows up on the screen.
Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
And Stephanie announces that next week we're gonna have a women's title match for the Raw Women's title, Sasha Banks and Asuka, and it's pinfall, submission, countouts, disqualification, or interference can dictate the winner, and whoever is the winner is the women's champion for Raw. I liked how they, I want to say quadruple down, but one more than that, on all the ways you can win a normal single fall standard wrestling match. Pinfalls, submissions, countouts, disqualifications. Essentially, this is a there must be a winner match for the women's Raw Championship. So, I don't know. A bit wordy for a stipulation, but at least there's some finality, and they're going to try to rectify the situation fairly quickly. Now, right after that, though, they do hit the ring, the Kabuki Warriors, to try to fight off Sasha Banks and Bayley. We're going to have a match tonight. We're going to have Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, against Kairi Sane. Now, it's a very solid match. And if this is indeed the last match Kairi Sane has for the WWE, it's a shame because she is a wonderful women's wrestler, and selfishly, I'd like for her not to resume her life in Japan and continue to wrestle in the WWE for Monday Night Raw. I'm not the biggest Bayley fan in the world, which understatement to how I feel actually, but this match with Kairi Sane was very solid. Had a lot of great action, a lot of good acting, and it even had a surprise finish when Bayley went for her worst finisher ever, Bayley to belly suplex, but Kairi Sane turned that into like a roll-up kind of thing. Pretty cool of a counter, so it was booked very well on top of all the good action that it had. And again, going back, if this is the last WWE match for Kairi Sane, kind of weird that they gave her the win, but pleasant surprise. That would be a nice thank you for how awesome and amazing you've been. But also, though, she just defeated the SmackDown Women's Champion, so logic would tell me that she would be in line for a SmackDown Women's Championship match. I feel like I'm missing something, so I'm hoping that there's at least one more match. I'm hoping we get that match, but if we don't, it just feels like something would have been missing. I don't know. I think that match could have been better served, Kairi Sane versus Sasha, but I'm nitpicking, obviously. Now that we've had the women's champions on the show and out of the way now, we can have Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion. He has a backstage segment that pretty much does nothing, but he comes out to the ring and he wants to talk about the future of his WWE championship. I guess he wants to figure out who his next challenger is. maybe he wants to channel his inner Keith Lee and even issue a challenge himself for somebody to try to compete for his title. But before we can even get there, out comes Dolph Ziggler.
Look who's here! He's back!
And Dolph Ziggler, obviously, he wants a match. He wants another shot at the WWE title.
Everything I've ever wanted.
The WWE Championship.
Now, Drew is pretty much blowing him off because Drew wants to remind him that last night at Extreme Rules, the horrible show, he just defeated Dolph Ziggler, and that was just 24 hours ago. So Drew's not so inclined to give in to the request until Dolph Ziggler offers Drew McIntyre the opportunity to pick the stipulation for the match. That makes Drew McIntyre accept, and Drew McIntyre informs Dolph Ziggler that he's only going to tell him what that stipulation is moments before their match. So I thought we were going to have this match at SummerSlam, but it turns out next week we're going to have Drew McIntyre with the surprise stipulation match against Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship. I don't know. I thought they were talking about SummerSlam just a second ago, but I guess they're going to pull the trigger. It'd be pretty cool. I'm kind of interested to see what Drew McIntyre pulls out of his bag of tricks, especially after going as far as complimenting Dolph Ziggler's wit for coming up with the stipulation that he did. Now, almost toward the end of the show here, so we got to get in a Big Show promo. He's backstage and he's talking about essentially being ready to die on the hill, right? He wants to knock out Randy Orton, and they've had this history, and apparently they called each other Hammer and Chisel, which is a weird tag team name. I don't remember them ever tagging in the first place, but a weird tag team name, even if they only used it to refer to themselves because nobody else did. But I don't know. I felt that was odd, because wouldn't you call yourselves RK Show? I feel like RK Show would have been the obvious choice there. Nonetheless, though, this make-believe tag team name that they had for each other as they traveled together and I guess competed in tag matches, I'm assuming in dark shows, but again, I don't remember that far long ago. But you know, he laments that that's over with, and now he needs to put Randy Orton down, basically. So we're at the main event, and luckily it's not too long of a match. It's an unsanctioned match. It's Randy Orton. It's Big Show. They didn't really leave a lot of time for it because it's Big Show and he can't wrestle for such a long time because he shouldn't be here in the first place anymore. Nonetheless, the Vega Boys, they come out and they try to interfere and help out Randy Orton. So I guess that's what they had in mind for showing Zelina Vega that they are on the same page still. And I'm excited because it seems like this alliance with Randy Orton is still alive. I know Ric Flair is not going to be on television anymore. He went back home because of the pandemic. But I have no idea what to call them. I'm hoping that they are everything that Randy Orton and the Revival should have been, with a Spanish flair, I guess. Interference doesn't last too long. They beat down the Big Show a little bit. They try to hold him down for a punt kick outside the ring, but the Viking Raiders come out to make the save because we're not done with Viking Raiders versus Angel Garza and Andrade yet. They brawl. It goes to a commercial, but when we come back from commercial, Andrade, Angel Garza, and the Viking Raiders are just gone. They're just missing. They disappeared. They fought up the ramp, I guess, or out through the crowd. I don't know, but they just kind of took a hike, and it was never addressed. We're just back to the ring of Randy Orton versus Big Show without any interference anymore. Long story short, though, Randy Orton gets the RKO. He gets the win. But most importantly, and most gleefully when I say this, Randy Orton hits the punt on the Big Show, and the Big Show crumbles, and I'm hoping that the Big Show has decided to finally just go away.
Just go away.
And that show is over. As a whole, I don't know. I didn't hate the episode of Monday Night Raw. It felt unfinished, I guess. It felt like things were missing. Not just one thing, but it felt like things were missing. Can't really put my finger on it, on exactly what that is. Billy Kay jumps to the top of my head as far as things that were missing.
So sad. Very sad.
Ric Flair, I guess, but I understand that he's not there, and I'd prefer that he wasn't, for his own sake. But I'm not, I don't really know. I guess the highlight for me would be the Hurt Business adds another member to their group. And then the low light is, and the highlight also being that the Big Show got kicked in the head. But low light, I don't know, just kind of it felt very, I don't know, like they were in the creative room and they had something else to get to, and they said just slap it together and go and put it on camera, and that was the end of it, so they can move on to whatever the next thing is, or to lunch, I don't know. It just didn't feel like a show that had that much effort put into it. But that's my opinion. I like to look at the glass half empty, or mostly empty. Let me know what you thought with the comments down below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And also, check out my store on Teespring. I've got merch already on there, and I've got more merch coming. Until next time, this was Prichard's Raw. I'm Marcus Cash, and I'll check you next time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.